Live streaming.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome all to our weekly webinar. This week, inshallah, we will be continuing to the second flash about Ayyub alayhi salam's qissa. And this week, again, Colin Hojam from Durham is with us, and Mustafa Polat from Turkey will be, inshallah, speaking on the topic, and I will be, inshallah, try to assist them while going through the text. Let me start with the ayah that we are focusing on. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, when he called upon his Lord, saying, verily harm has afflicted me, you are the most merciful of the merciful. The supplication of Ayyub alayhi salam, the champion of patience, is both well tested and effective. Drawing on the verse, we should say in our supplication, Rabbi inni masani ad-durru anta arhamur rahimin. O my Lord and Sustainer, indeed harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. The gist of the well-known story of Ayyub alayhi salam is as follows. While afflicted with numerous wounds and sores for a long time, he recalled the great recompense to be had for his sickness and endured it with utmost patience. But later, when the worms generated by his wounds penetrated to his heart and his tongue, the seed of the remembrance and knowledge of Allah, Ma'rifatullah, he feared that his duty of worship will suffer. His deed of worship will suffer, and so he said in supplication, not for the sake of his own comfort, but for the sake of his worship of Allah. Ubudiyya, O Lord, harm has afflicted me. My remembrance of you with my tongue and my worship of you with my heart will suffer. Almighty Allah then accepted this pure, sincere, disinterested, and devout supplication in the most miraculous fashion. He granted Ayyub perfect good health and made manifest in him all kinds of compassion. So last week, this flash, Ustad just approaches this verse in 5 aspects. So we went through the first aspect, which is how to approach to our spiritual wounds, our mistakes, and if we don't approach them in a worshipful manner, how it can lead us, they can lead us to a grievous situation that is far more grievous than any worldly pain. Inshallah, I want to skip this part if Korun Hojam or Mustafa Abi wants to add anything on this part and start from the second part that where we stopped last week. Anything that comes to mind about this part, we can. So inshallah, we will go on to second point this week. As was explained concerning the meaning of divine determinant qadar, known as destiny, in the 26th word, men have no right to complain in the case of disasters and illness for the following 3 reasons. First reason, God Most High has made the garment of the body with which he has clothed man a manifestation of his art. He has made man to be a model on which he cuts, trims, alters, and changes the garment of the body, thus displaying the manifestation of various of his names, just as the name of healer makes it necessary that illness should exist, so too the name of provider requires that hunger should exist, and so on. مالك الملك يتصرف في ملكه كيف يشاء. The Lord of all dominion has disposal over his dominion as he wishes. If you let me go, I will continue, and inshallah we'll come back to the first reason. Second reason, it's by means of disasters and sicknesses that life is refined, perfected, strengthened, and advanced, that it yields results, attains perfection, and fulfills its own purpose. Life led monotonously on the couch of ease and comfort resembles not so much the pure good that is being, the existence, as the pure evil that is non-being, non-existence, Adam. It tends, in fact, in that direction. Life led monotonously on the couch of ease and comfort resembles not so much the pure good that is wujud, being, existence, as the pure evil that is Adam, non-being, non-existence. It tends, in fact, in that direction. Third reason, this worldly realm is the field of testing, the abode of service. It's not the place of pleasure, reward, and requital. Considering then that it is the abode of service and place of worship, sicknesses and misfortunes, as long as they do not affect belief, iman, and are patiently endured, conform fully to service and worship, and even strengthen it, since they make each hour's worship equivalent to that of a day. One should offer thanks instead of complaining. Worship consists, in fact, of two kinds, positive and negative. What is meant by the positive is obvious. As for the negative worship, this is when one afflicted with misfortune or sickness perceives his own weakness and helplessness, and turning to his compassionate Lord, seeks refuge in him, meditates upon him, petitions him, and thus offers a pure form of worship that no hypocrisy can penetrate. If he endures patiently, thinks of the reward attendant on misfortune, and offers thanks, then each hour that he passes will count as a whole day spent in worship. If his brief life becomes very long, there are even cases where a single minute is counted as equal to a whole day's worship. I once was extremely anxious because of an awesome illness that struck one of my brothers of the hereafter, Akhirah, Muhajir Hafiz Ahmed. But then a warning came to my heart, congratulate him. Each minute he spends is counted as a whole day's worship. He was, in any event, enduring his illness in patience and gratitude. Inshallah, I want to go back and go over first reason. We don't have right to complain about disasters and illnesses because of three reasons. First reason, Allah Most High has made the garment of the body with which he has clothed man, a manifestation of his art. He has made man to be a model on which he cuts, trims, alters, and changes the garment of the body, thus displaying the manifestation of various of his names. Just as the name of healer makes it necessary that illness should exist, so too the name of provider, Razak, requires that hunger should exist, and so on. مالك الملك يتصرف في ملكه كيف يشاء. The Lord of all dominion has disposal over his dominion as he wishes. So I want to turn to my speakers. Maybe Colin Abi can start first. This sounds very humane. Daily we continuously complain about things, and sometimes we even take it further, kind of to the point like accusing God. So how come the reality changed that much? And how come this is because for myself, this is a major difference between a belief and unbelief, or connecting things to Allah or not. The milk is his, right? So how come we go to such extreme, like accusing him in an extreme way sometimes. I was in hospital sharing people's feelings. I even heard sayings like, how can he do this to me? When I first heard the statement, I was thinking like, is he talking about a friend or somebody else? Then I realized he's talking about our creator. So how come we can go that extreme, as human beings? Can you help us with that to understand the concept, and we are, this is very natural to us. We do complain about things. Please go ahead if you are available.
Bismillah. We say Maliki Yawmiddin in every namaz, in every prayer. And we talk about Allah's being Malik, being owner. But I think for us, it's a theoretical issue. We save our platitudes about the Creator for the prayer. And in our everyday lives, we seem, because we've secularized our faith, we seem not to understand that these are serious issues, and that it's not just a point of theology to say that God is the owner of all things. It's because we treat our theology like a shopping list. Generally, I'm not talking about everyone, but generally, we treat our aqidah, our creed, like a list of things that we tick off, in boxes. And this is hugely problematic because it becomes a game. It just becomes something that we own, our deen, our faith, in the same way that we own a house, in the same way that we own various pastimes. Maybe you like playing football, that characterizes you. Maybe you like hot food, spicy food, that characterizes you. And also you are a Muslim, that characterizes you. But actually what that means hasn't sunk into your flesh and blood and bones. When I say you here, obviously I'm not talking about anyone personally, but one, generally. And when we say Malik, owner, Allah is not part owner. He's not owner of some things. He's owner of everything, absolutely everything. And that includes our actions as human beings. It includes every breath that we take. And again, this is not just some mystical declaration for people to say, oh, mashallah, how profound, how deep. This is a crucial, practical truth that we don't own anything. We don't own our health. We don't own our existence. We don't own the attributes that we experience in ourselves, our knowledge, our wisdom, our justice. All of these perfections, attributes of perfection, don't belong to us. he can do whatever he wants with those attributes. He can do whatever he wants with us. But before we start thinking, well, this is really just like some arbitrary despot, doing exactly what he wants with no thought or no wisdom, we also know that he is absolutely wise and that he's absolutely just, and that everything that he does for a reason. Why do we, as you said, Brother Baikar, why do we get angry or upset when we get ill? Because we own our good health. We own our health. We exercise ownership. This is why Ustad in this first reason is talking about the Lord of all dominion has tasarruf over his dominion as he wishes. This is to remind us who is the true owner. And that would help you. That would help one when one is ill to understand that this illness is a visitor to us and we have no rights to complain. The only time that we can complain is if it starts to affect our belief. And then we complain to Allah. Then we maybe complain is the wrong word. We entreat him. We beg him. You are the one who owns me. This is starting to affect my belief. It doesn't matter that my hair is falling out or that I can't walk properly or that one eye can't see, because these are not mine anyway. But my belief is all I have. It's all that stands between me and the hereafter, and salvation. So please, you are the one who can control this. Please help me. But this is something, that Ayub was a prophet, and even he felt a lot of difficulty.
Yes, it's not easy. Indeed, it's not
at all.
But it just brought to my mind. Thank you for the reflections. Sometimes even us, we don't own the good health. We try to keep it in balance in some ways, but sometimes we try to spoil it. Even we abuse our good health. We use alcohol, we use drugs, we use harmful things, and including ourselves. Nobody says that we don't have any right for this. Everybody's like, okay, this is his choice, and let him go. So that's very interesting. How can we then turn around and accuse the Creator, who is responsible, the sole responsible of the good health?
It has to be because of this inability to really believe that we don't own those things. If someone brings to you a very, very expensive piece of jewelry and says, please look after it, you are going to look after that because it's not yours. Your next door neighbor goes away on holiday and gives to you this thing that he doesn't want robbers to come to his house. You're going to look after that. And you're going to tell your kids not to touch it. You're going to tell anyone who comes to your house not to touch it. You're going to put it under lock and key. You're going to take care of it because it's not yours. And if something happens to it, that you will be accountable to the owner. Now, why don't we have that level of diligence and care about the things that we appear to own, but which we really don't?
Mustafa, do you have anything to say?
Following further with what Colin Hocam was saying, Allah is giving us so much attractive, let's say, things like diamonds. We get tricked into the idea it's so shiny or something. I don't know. Our nefs and shaitan tricks us, and we think we like to play with it. Even though we know it's a very short period of time, for a very short period of time, we still doesn't want to take the responsibilities that are given to us as serious as it should. We don't recognize that we are owned by Allah, and everything that we have does not belong to us. And Ustad puts it, I was amazed the way, this is the clarity of Allah's order, obviously, but, Ustad also puts it with, this example of the clothes and, just, giving the example of Allah cuts and trims and alters the garment of the body. It's really interesting. It's strikingly simple, and yet it's so complicated when it comes to applying it to our lives, our daily lives. This is, I also remember, back when I was in America, I was discussing this particular story of Job, Ayyub alayhi salam, with other Christians and Jews, and they also have the same story in their Bible, their sacred book. And so they have their own take with the different approaches. And this is I was amazed by how they miss the real point when they try to explain the story. And this is the very core of the story, that Allah owns us, just like Allah owns the Prophet, Ayyub alayhi salam, and he owns everything. When it comes to this idea of theodicy, they discuss this, how the existence of evil, why, God gives these evil things, gives troubles to people under different circumstances. And the main point is this, when I was also searching why people get away from God, in different ways, most of the people come back to this, they miss this point that, Allah owns us. This is, Colin Hocam explained it very, clearly, very beautifully. Allah owns us. We just, they don't talk about, God, they talk as if it's the boss in their company. So they kind of anthropomorphize God in a different way. This is what I felt at the time. It's as if, they have a close relationship, like it's kind of a human being, and why he does this, he does that. There is no relationship as they, imagine. It's much different. We are owned by him, we are created by him, and we have no right to complain. And whatever happens to us, there is a wisdom behind it. The problem is with us that we don't able to see it. We are not able to see the real wisdom. And that, Ayyub alayhi salam is not complaining about the sickness here. He's complaining because it's having a hard time to worship Allah in a better way. So that's his own. This is his only complaint. Yeah. So the real trouble is just not being able to worship as properly as it should.
Just as a footnote, when we say them, I want to include ourselves too. Maybe we don't articulate that much as a part of Islamic etiquette, but we need to check and balance all the time. I believe.
Yes, that's right. We're also in ghafla in many times. That's really true. Yes.
We fall into the same pit often.
But alhamdulillah, at least we are not able, we don't come to the point we start to complain to Allah, ya Allah, why are you giving this to us? Neuzubillah, may Allah protect us. But we come to the point, we mostly complain to other people. We complain about other people, why he did this to me, why this happened to me. But it may imply, as you suggested, it may imply also that we are maybe we don't intend to complain, but maybe what we say may imply that we may be complaining about Allah, because we get forgetful and we don't see where that complaint is heading up to in reality.
Thank you. Colin Hocam, any addition before we go to the second reason?
No, I think the second reason, there are things that we need to look at now.
Sure. Second reason, it's by means of disasters and sicknesses that life is refined, perfected, strengthened, and advanced. It's by means of disasters and sicknesses that life is refined, perfected, strengthened, and advanced, that it yields results, attains perfection, and fulfills its own purpose. Life led monotonously on the couch of ease and comfort resembles not so much the pure good that's been as the pure evil that is Adam, non-existence, non-being. It tends, in fact, in that direction. So we have some habits, some hobbies. It's good to change our daily practices. This is kind of an extra activity in our lives, but we don't really think in that terms. These other changes in our state, quote unquote, we think our default state, for example, good health, or comfort, whatsoever. So we just don't think in these terms. How come these difficulties and troubles are improving us or refining our lives? Maybe this last statement can help us in a way. I want to start asking about it. So how come, is this obvious for us? The comfort and ease resembles not to wujud, that's being, but to pure evil, that is non-existence. First of all, is Adam non-existence pure evil and wujud is good? Are we on the same page? I guess this is so obvious. Any words on this? Do you have any opinions, reflections on this?
I think we can see it, can't we? For example, if you see flowing water is clean. You can wash things in flowing water if there's a certain volume. But when the water isn't flowing, it stagnates, it becomes putrid, because there's no movement, there's no flux. The whole of the creation is in flux, is in movement continuously. And if we lead monotonous lives, with no dynamism, then we become ill, actually. And you can see it, and you feel ill as well when nothing is, you're not doing anything, you're just sitting and doing nothing. Then it is in non-existence really tends towards evil, because there is no khair in it. There is no existence there. It's nothingness. And of course, nothing doesn't exist clearly because it's nothing. But if it did exist in a tangible form, it would be just pure evil, as it says here. And we find this also in dynasties as well. When a dynasty becomes old and people start to become over too comfortable, the dynasty starts to wane. It starts to collapse. It reaches a point where there is too much comfort, too much hedonism. People are eating too much, people are drinking too much, and plenty in the end makes people very lax. People, don't run about, in search of this and that. They get fat, they get obese. Now, if you look at, I think North America is a good example. So much obesity there comes from really a surfeit of good things. Well, actually, bad things. People eating the wrong diet. But they overconsume. So society goes through these cycles as well.
Mm-hmm. So
sorry, yeah. What I really wanted to say that we need these wake-up calls, these disasters, these cataclysms even, because we have to fall in order to learn to walk. A child learns to walk only by falling. If the child never falls, it will never ever learn to walk. So, this first part of the second reason, it's by means of disasters and sicknesses that life becomes refined. Progress only happens if there are setbacks and problems.
Even the last part of the first reason, I guess, was an eye-opener, and we don't think about it. But if we don't get hungry, right, it will never, we'll never look for different foods or different variety of cuisines, whatever. It's just doesn't matter for us. And if we don't get sick, right, the Shafi name doesn't make sense for us. So by those things we have some progress, and so it's kind of same for the other things too. Maybe that comfort state is just monotonous, and it never gets any improvement in our lives. It's just
That's true. There's a saying in English, necessity is the mother of invention. Where there is a strong need for something, then human beings, they call on their ingenuity, and then they start to do research. They start to, make technological advances, scientific advances. But that comes from need. It's the child falling over. It needs to walk, so it learns, and it learns, through trial and error. So I think this is what this second reason is saying. It's quite clear, I think.
Any words, Mustafa, on non-existing being pure evil, Adam?
Existence is actually in reality is the manifestation of Allah. If Allah creates something, then it is. So the existence, if there are levels of existence, let's say, it's about the different names manifesting on something, I guess, if I'm putting in the right way. So if once the things change their state, they start manifesting Allah's names in different ways. So all these differences, all these changes in the states of existence, let it be in our lives, a sickness or comfort or anything else, the time of war for a tribe or community or dynasty or anything else, it's all different ways of Allah manifesting on things. So once things change, it becomes more valuable, because value in reality comes from the manifestation of Allah. So I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's all about manifesting Allah's names.
Yeah, beautiful. It was also a nice wrap up summary of what we read already on the first reason, second reason. So the mulk is his, the existence is his. So anything that manifests his name and makes him known better should be more valuable, right? In terms of
exactly, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the nice point there. Any addition to the second reason and other reflection? I want to go on. Okay, inshallah. Let's continue to the third point, third reason. This worldly realm is the field of testing, the abode of service. It's not the place of pleasure, reward, and recordal. This worldly realm is the field of testing, the abode of service. It's not the place of pleasure, reward, and recordal. Considering then that it is the abode of service and place of worship, sicknesses and misfortunes as long as they do not affect the deen, religion, and are patiently endured, confirm fully to service and worship, and even strengthen it. Since they make each hour's worship equivalent to that of a day, one should offer thanks instead of complaining. The worship consists, in fact, two kinds. Well, I want to ask here your reflections. You know, it was my first time congratulating somebody because of being ill after reading the Risale. So how it changed our perception of the reality. You know, somebody is sick, suffering, and we congratulate him, and we share the feeling that we should even, you know, think about the situation. So this is very interesting to me. I don't know if you want to say a few words on that before I continue.
I think maybe you should give us your ideas. It seems to have resonated with you quite deeply. So maybe you should say something.
I mean, you know, Ustad makes this a lot, you know, eye-opening, or just changing our daily paradigms, you know, switching just to the opposite side. So this is one of them. You know, when somebody's sick, you just directly go say sorry. You know, it looks, you know, very miserable, but you know, I want to help and change the situation, but not. But he says, congratulations. So very interesting.
It seems quite hurtful at first when you're not
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yes, you're right.
It's to do with priority, isn't it? You know, what is our priority in existing? You know, once we realize that we are abd, and that Allah is you know, Rahim, and we are Marhum in every sense of the word, then we have a priority. And this world, and it sometimes takes us a whole lifetime, almost a whole lifetime, to understand what the priority is. But once we've understood, then illness is also understood. You know, it's the same time and time again. I come back to the first word, you know, the first word, Bismillah, the importance of Bismillah, to understand and to go through life understanding what's happening to you. To do that, you have to read things in the name of Allah. If you don't read things in the name of Allah, then you can't navigate this desert, you know, this desert of human existence. It's only when you realize that you are existing in the names of Allah, then illness becomes reasonable. You can understand why Allah sometimes makes you ill. You know, it must be necessary. He doesn't do things without a reason. Our priority here is, you know, to be tested. It's not a place to, you know, live a monotonous life and not do anything. It's the place not of pleasure, not of reward, not of hedonism, not of self-enjoyment. This is a place of test. And I think we have to reach a position in which we can look at health and illness and see them as exactly the same as poverty and wealth. They are just states that Allah places on us in order to test us. Thank you.
Since they make each hour's worship equivalent to that of a day, one should offer thanks instead of complaining. Worship consists, in fact, of two kinds, positive and negative. What is meant by the positive is obvious. As for negative worship, our regular ibadah, non-ibadah, forms of salat, salam. As for negative worship, this is when one afflicted with misfortune or sickness perceives his own weakness and helplessness, and turning to his compassionate Lord, seeks refuge in him, meditates upon him, petitions him, and thus offers a pure form of worship that no hypocrisy can penetrate. As for negative worship, this is when one afflicted with misfortune or sickness perceives his own weakness and helplessness and turning to his compassionate Lord, seeks refuge in him, meditates upon him, petitions him, and thus offers a pure form of worship that no hypocrisy can penetrate. This is also very interesting, right? The no hypocrisy can penetrate. So in a regular worship, this is a huge issue that we need to be very careful, right? Even Ustad in some parts says that in this time and day, it's really very hard to be having, you know, performing amal khair, right, with pure intention, sincerity, without anything intervening in the way. So that's very interesting. It's a chance, it's an opportunity to be able to practice unhypocritical worship in a way. Seeks refuge in him, meditates upon him, petitions him, and thus offers a pure form of worship that no hypocrisy can penetrate. If he endures patiently, thinks of the reward attendant on misfortune, and offers thanks, then each hour that he passes will count as a whole day spent in worship. His brief life becomes very long. There are even cases where a single minute is counted as equal to a whole day's worship. I once was extremely anxious because of an awesome illness that struck one of my brothers of the Akhirah, Muhajir Hafiz Ahmed, but then a warning came to my heart: congratulate him. Each minute he spends is counted as a whole day's worship. He was in any event enduring his illness in patience and gratitude. So maybe we can think on this regarding this second reasoning too, right? In this way, that change in our states kind of open our eyes to our weaknesses, our neediness, which we usually forget and are neglectful about. That's maybe the major gain in this regard.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm not sure I like the word negative though, and I know that Ustad doesn't mean it in the way that most people would understand it as negative, manfi, you know, being something which is itself negative, you know, not good. In other words, I think what is meant here really is like passive.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than negative, you know, you have active ibadah, which, as you said, Baikar, you know, like namaz and fasting. Well, actually, fasting is also is a kind of passive worship in actual fact. But, you know, when we see people praying, then, you know, hypocrisy can enter because you're actually doing something, or you think you're doing something. Or when people see you paying zakat, or you told someone that you pay zakat, or they see you on Hajj, all of these things are active worships, and hypocrisy can enter them quite stealthily. But with the second kind of worship that Ustad is talking about here, it's very difficult for any hypocrisy to enter because they are passively done, and they're not seen.
Yes. So since you don't intend to do it, there is no danger of you know, losing sincerity. Every intention may be sincere or not. You may intend to with different, you know, you may have different intentions to do certain actions, even if it is a worship seemingly, But since this is a passive state of worship, you don't intend to do it, so the process doesn't start from your heart or your mind. It's not related to your emotional or mental state. It comes to you even if you don't want that state to be the case. So it's you have to accept it, and you don't intend to do it.
I see what you mean there. You don't actually
Yeah.
make an intention as you
Yeah.
make an intention to pray. I see what you mean. Yeah, as long as you don't object to the illness coming, then it's a really nice way of putting it, that you said there, that the worship comes to you actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for that.
So maybe we also have some difficulty to understand it. I'm talking in my name. This word, the realm, is the field of testing, the abode of service. It's not the place of pleasure, reward, and recordal. Considering then that it is the abode of service and place of worship. So, yes, maybe theoretically we know this, but my own nafs has always difficulty to accept it in a way that I should get my share from this world too. So there should be a way of indulging in this worldly pleasures in a way that keep saying this to us, and this is a very weird concept. Let's think we are in a hotel room, right? We enjoy the bed, we enjoy the comfortable couch and a nice big screen TV, but nobody will think that it's gonna be with us tomorrow, or I don't attach myself to those things, or I don't keep cleaning them, or really try to own them. But again, maybe we are going back to the first reason, but in a weird way we just own this, and we try to have 100% satisfaction in a way, or we have this fake concept of understanding of saying that, oh, this is gonna satisfy me fully. This is it. This is the real one. But again and again, the holy text, right, Quran and Hadith, reminds us that this is just a trial version. In an exhibition, right? This is not the real cell phone. This is not the real product. It's just that sample, and I can test it. I can try it. I can enjoy it for a very short time. But if I want to stay there or take it with myself, they're gonna say, "Oh no, you're just the customer. Put an order for the real product so we can ship it to you," right? So you can take it by yourself, and it's not gonna satisfy you because this is just a sample. It doesn't have the full function on it, right? So we have these feelings to enjoy the things in many different ways. We have the capacity, but we again and again test it, experience it, that this doesn't satisfy us. This is a very short time. This is a very limited, world. So I don't know why, but the nafs doesn't want to understand this. It just wants to have the pleasure, the reward, the recruital, everything right here at the moment.
You've just said that we keep seeing these things. We see people dying all the time, right? Mm-hmm. We see things coming to an end all the time. Every single day comes to an end. It has Maghrib, then there's Isha, then there is darkness. It's like a life in miniature. If you read the 9th word, you see that. Every day is like a life which is lived out in full, ending in death, because our sleep is the brother of death. So we have examples. It's as though there are things on stage, like at a play in a theater. Every day, these things are acting out the meaning of life on that stage every day, and we are witnesses. We are in the audience, and yet we still don't get it. Why? Why is this? You hit the nail on the head. Our nafs doesn't accept, and yet our eyes are witnessing every day. We see life being played out, you know, in all of its glory, in all of its plenitude, and in all of its transience. You know, 24 hours is the whole of life, from birth to death, from Fajr to Isha, and then Tahajjud. And what more can we ask for? You know, what other kind of indications are we looking for?
I don't know. It's a mystery. It's I don't know that.
I was hoping you would answer us and put us out of our misery.
As Mustafa said, very simple, but I don't know, for some reason, that's the most difficult thing that we don't want to accept in a way. Just
That's the test.
yeah, we just say the word, but this is a test, but you know, you also always, you know, want to see it as the real place of pleasure, rewards, recall.
You know, test is not enough. Is not the. It's you know, it's an approach to you know, define the situation. But you know, when you say test, there is this, you know, you study for it, like, you know, an exam. Let's say, you know, test. At the end of the test, you don't acquire anything. You don't, you know, whatever comes, it comes from Allah. I'm not trying. I'm trying to put it in a better way, but I'm not able to. So
You learn experience, but and you improve your understanding, right? Acknowledgement, but as you said, you don't really ask any reward in terms of the right there. I mean, you know, maybe you're taking the test to getting a job or whatever. Like, there could be results coming in the future, but right there you just sweat, right?
So we don't deserve the score. There is no score at the end of this that we deserve. It's just a process that we have to go through.
Are you saying that maybe we should stop calling it a test? Because as you said, if you get 20 out of 20 in your test, you get a reward. You know, you get your teacher will say, well done, or you may win a prize. But here we get test after test after test, and we're told that if there is a reward, it's not in this life, you know, or there may be a reward in ways that you don't understand, but we're not supposed to think of a reward anyway. So maybe test is the wrong word, Mustafa. Maybe you need to think of another one.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about.
That's your task for next week.
Yeah, that's right.
I have one more point that I want to ask. Ustad talks about the difficulties or misfortunes coming to the effect in the religion. Let me quote it right from the. Yeah, as long as they do not affect belief, as long as they do not affect the deen, the religion, what comes to your mind, you know, when the real misfortune or the one that really affects the religion? Maybe I can fast face to the fifth point that I'm not sure if you will have an opportunity to read it or not, but it is there, so maybe I can read it really quick. True and harmful misfortune is that which affects religion. One should at all times seek refuge at the divine court from misfortune in matters of religion and cry out for help. But misfortunes that do not affect religion in reality are not misfortunes. Some of them are warnings from the most merciful one, if a shepherd throws a stone at his sheep when they trespass on another's pasture, they understand that the stone is intended as a warning to save them from a perilous action. Full of gratitude, they turn back. So too, there are many apparent misfortunes that are divine warnings and admonishments, others that constitute the penance of sin, and others again that dissolve man's state of neglect, remind him of his human helplessness and weakness, thus affording him a form of tranquility. As for the variety of misfortune that is illness, it is not at all a misfortune, as has already been said, but rather a favor from Allah and a means of purification. There is tradition which says, as a tree drops its ripe fruit when shaken, so the sins fall away through the shaking of fever. Ayub alayhi salam did not pray in his supplication for the comfort of his soul, but rather sought cure for the purpose of ubudiyya, worship. Maybe this can help us also. When disease was preventing his remembrance of Allah with his tongue and his meditation upon Allah in his heart, we too should make our primary intent when making the supplication the healing of the inward and spiritual wounds that arise from sinning. As far as physical diseases are concerned, we may seek refuge from them when they hinder our worship. But we should seek refuge in a humble and supplicating fashion, not protestingly and plaintively. If we accept Allah as our Lord and Sustainer, then we must accept too all that He gives us in His capacity of Lord. To sigh and complain in a manner implying objection to divine determinant and decree is a kind of criticism of divine determinant and accusation leveled against Allah's compassion. The one who criticizes divine qadar strikes his head against the anvil and breaks it. Whoever accuses Allah's mercy will inevitably be deprived of it. To use a broken hand to exact revenge will only cause further damage to hand. So to a man who afflicted with misfortune responds to it with protesting, complaint, and anxiety is only compounding his misfortune. So I wasn't intended to go all the way down, but mashallah, this was a very nice explanation and summary of the part that we already read. Any final reflections on the whole thing, or on the misfortunes affecting our belief or affecting our religion, Deen?
Not for me, and I have to rush off, I'm afraid. So inshallah next week.
Inshallah. We are at the end of the time. Mustafa Abi,
Yeah, I have to rush. Salam.
Mustafa, any final reflection?
No.
Okay, inshallah. You want to go with the dua?
Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.
اللهم صل على سيدنا